Hey guys, Taylor here, SpraungelPerformance. In front of me is a perfectly fine working Ulterra that we are going to break to show you guys how to get your Ulterra back working on the water in the event of a loss of power. So one of the things that customers come in a lot of times for is their Ulterra got stuck down, they did an emergency stow, they can't get the motor back responding, and a lot of times when we put them on the bench and we reset them, the motor actually is fine. These motors are very sensitive to power interruptions, so if you have a bad plug or a loose battery connection, a weak breaker, weak batteries, anything like that can cause this motor to kind of forget where it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go in depth with how this motor functions and what it relies on to function, and show you guys little bit of in-depth steps on what you can do if you're in a bunch somewhere and you're up on a vacation or whatever and you want to get your motor working again. So basically the Ulterra works on a simple concept. It uses Hall effect sensors to actuate and tell the motor where it actually is. So you have 3 sensors on the motor. This one is the sensor that tells the motor when the motor is fully deployed. There's another sensor over here that tells the motor when it has reached fully stowed. And then there's another sensor over here that tells the motor when it has fully retracted back to its position back here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to basically simulate a power interruption when the motor is down. So I'm going to deploy the motor, let the motor trim down. I'm going to turn the motor. I don't have much room on this bench, and then I'm going to cut the power to the motor. So this would be if you tripped a breaker, if your plug fell out, even if you bumped it for a split second. I'm gonna restore power back to the motor. Go ahead and stow it. And the motor's gonna do nothing. It has no idea where it is. It can go up and down. This one's going up and down. It has no idea where it is. So if you go down like this, and the motor will go down a little bit, but it won't go up, what has happened is the motor has lost its trim count. The easy way to reset your trim count is to press this button 3 times quickly. The motor is going to go all the way up. Keep in mind it might hit your boat. It's going to do that, and then it's going to drop back down. Now your motor knows where the trim count is. So now, should be good. I'm just going to stow it. What's going to happen is the steering has lost, there we go. The steering has basically lost where it is supposed to be. If I had this other ramp on here, the motor would have gotten jammed up. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that. So if you go to stow your motor and your motor is coming up at any angle other than where it needs to be, or if you simply need to change which direction the prop is gonna go to avoid cover, stow the motor. Once it lays down, hit the stow button again to pause it or pause on the remote. Remove power from the motor and manually turn the motor where it needs to go. There's a little bit of steering slop, so what I like to do is just kind of find the in-between to where I feel like it's right where it needs to be. And now, once I restore power, the motor will stow as intended. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the motor losing power when it's stowing. This is something that happens a lot, especially when you have weak batteries. So I'm going to stow the motor. Once I get right here, I'm going to shut power off. So in this situation, this is where a lot of times these motors come into me. I'm going to turn the power back on, and I get nothing. If I try to stow and deploy, I'm hitting the foot pedal down here. I don't know if you guys can see. So how I can tell that the motor's not working correctly, obviously we're stuck like this. I hit the button, I'm getting a status light that's flashing and nothing is happening. So the first thing I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna take a screwdriver. Make sure you use a screwdriver when you do this, because if your fingers get caught in here, this motor will cut your fingers off. I'm gonna go in here in the tilt position sensor, and I'm gonna push this sensor back just about 3/4 of the way. And what I should be able to do, I wanna make sure that the motor is actually off and not trying to stow. So also make sure that the light is solid green. So I'm gonna go back, You don't want to go back all the way because that's past the sensor. You just want to go back a little bit, and you should be able to actually trim the motor once you find that, that proper spot. And now, if I go to hit stow, the motor will stow, I can pull the screwdriver out. So essentially what I did there was, because this sensor wasn't being activated and this sensor wasn't being activated, I activated this sensor that basically told the motor that the motor is properly deployed and locked into place. When you do that, it sends the prompt to the motor to actuate the tilt motor to rock the motor up. Once it hits the sensor up here, then it pulls the motor in the rest of the way. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that helped a little bit. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, any service center should be more than happy to help you. This video is basically just to help somebody who's maybe on a trip somewhere, doesn't have a service center near them. If something weird happens and you can fix it on the water and keep fishing, that's what we hope for. Thanks for watching.